Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to our first look at Wild Rift patch 4.0b. We got a whole bunch of balance changes that will be happening and is scheduled to come out sometime next week, probably around Wednesday or Thursday, depending on your time zone. But there's a lot of very cool changes in this patch. So if you want to see content on any of these champions, let me know down in the comments. And as always, make sure you like the video and subscribe. It really helps and supports me out a lot and I appreciate it. But let's take a look and let me give you my thoughts on these changes that is going to be happening in the next patch that's coming out next week. Also, Zeri's coming out very soon as well, so that's also very exciting. It actually is in this patch cycle. I believe it's 25th of February, so we've still got a little bit of time to wait, but this is the patch cycle for Zeri's release, so I'm very excited about that. So let's take a look first at Jarvan. So Jarvan, interestingly enough, is getting a buff, a little bit to his shield on his second ability. Jarvan's an interesting champion. I think that he has a lot of early game power because of how easy it is to gank with his third ability and his first ability, his flag and drag. But maybe he doesn't really, I don't think really scales too much. I've been seeing a lot of burst damage and a lot of full damage Jarvan builds doing a lot of damage. And I think this benefits more the burst Jarvan build rather than the tanky Jarvan build. Let's take a quick look. I mean, the cooldown on the second ability is going down from 12 seconds down to 10 seconds, which is quite nice. And then the shield, the actual value of the shield, so the base shield is going up. So about 15 shield in the early game and 45 shield in the late game. But as you can see, the maximum health per level is going down. Now it's maximum health per enemy champion hit. Oh, okay, so instead of per enemy hit, it's per enemy champion hit, so you don't get as much shield, I guess, when you hit minions or monsters anymore, as far as I'm aware with this, because now it says maximum health per enemy champion hit, not per health, maximum health per enemy hit, which is interesting. I'm not too sure exactly how it works with the second ability at the moment. Maybe I'll have to take a look. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know if this is how I'm reading it correctly. So the percentage is going down, and it's also only the maximum health per enemy champion hit instead of per enemy hit. So that is really interesting. But yeah, as I mentioned, I think that the maximum health percentage going down, but the base value going up is kind of leaning more towards building a little bit more damage with Jarvan. Maybe you can go for something like Ghostblade as the first item, which is really popular at the moment in the jungle on junglers like Lee Sin, Riven, Kayn, Aatrox, champions like that. So maybe Jarvan can go for that route and then maybe go for like Black Cleaver items like that afterwards. So very nice changes to Jarvan. I think these will be very welcome changes. Miss Fortune, interestingly, did get buffed a couple of patches ago. All the AP ratios for Miss Fortune did get buffed, but I guess that wasn't enough. Now it's going to be the double up base damage going up by 10 per rank. And interestingly enough, this is also the first ability that you max with Miss Fortune. Even though it's only going up by 10 every single time, you're going to be kind of feeling the full benefit of that 120 base damage now. Which I think is quite good. I mean, I thought this ability was really strong in the first place, because if you know how to use this correctly, you can use this to poke down enemy champions very efficiently, especially with the passive for Miss Fortune as well, and make sure you make full benefit of auto attacking different champions and making sure that you hit multiple the minions and the minions and the champions with the double up. Is very important to just poke out and deal a lot of damage. So interesting enough that this is getting buffed. Maybe Miss Fortune will slowly find her way back into the meta with this. I think her early game is already very strong. I think the problem with Miss Fortune is that her ultimate, because you're basically stable, you basically are completely vulnerable to any sort of dive or any assassins or bruisers jumping on top of you. And also she doesn't have a lot of mobility as well. So that's why she's kind of lower in terms of tier list at the moment for AD carries, and that's why champions like Lucian and other champions are going up. This, I think, is probably the craziest change of this patch, and maybe one of the most exciting for some people. Senna's first ability is now getting an inbuilt slow. Yes, you heard it right, an inbuilt slow. Enemies hit are slowed by 15% plus 0.1% times your bonus attack damage plus 0.06% times your ability power. So the more AD you get, the more it benefits, and AP ratio doesn't really mean too much. And you can see the duration also goes up per level. Now, this is always the ability that you max first. So you're going to be really feeling the benefit of that 1.5 seconds slow on your first ability. And if you can keep using this ability over and over again, I've seen people actually build Navori quick blades now on Senna, which I could definitely see being a viable build now for Senna, because if you can critically strike, which when you gain souls and when you collect souls for Senna, your crit rate does go up. If you do that, plus if you build Navori quick blades, you can just keep using your first ability over and over again. And this also means you don't need to buy Iceborne Gauntlet anymore, and you also don't need to build Serrader's Grudge anymore. So their two items are completely gone. You don't need them anymore because you have an inbuilt slow. So it opens up more opportunities to buy more items, which I think is very, very exciting for Senna, but also at the same time, very, very scary as well, because I think Senna is a decent champion at the moment. I think she's pretty good as a support, and she's pretty good as fasting Senna with like Nasus or Galio down the bot lane. This just makes her even stronger, in my opinion. Next up is Yasuo, the Sweep and Blade target immunity cooldown. If you don't know what this is basically when you use your third ability on a minion or a champion or anyone like that. There's basically a duration that you cannot use your third ability or your dash on that same target. That is used to be 8 seconds at every single rank, but now it's going down as you level up your third ability. So now that immunity is only going to last 5 seconds instead of 8 seconds. So a way that maybe Yasuo can look to playmaker around, or maybe look to dash in, try and get a nice combo off, and maybe use that to dash away to safety. Be very interesting to see if this doesn't make any difference to Yasuo. I think Yasuo is a bit undershadowed at the moment because of how strong Yone is, his brother. Yone is by far a better duelist and a better assassin than Yasuo at the moment, even after the nerfs to Yone. So it's very interesting to see if this Yasuo buff makes a difference or not. On to champion nerfs. This is one nerf that I was kind of expecting, to be honest, because Caitlyn's early game is so obnoxious. Like, it's so powerful how strong Caitlyn's early game is. Not only does she have the longest attack range of any AD carry at the moment, but she had, as you can see, a lot of high base damage as well. 58 base AD. That is going down to 54 base AD. So that means every single time you auto attack, you're losing 4 damage every single time, which can be a big thing, especially in them long trades down in the dual lane. So yeah, this could be a big hit to Caitlyn in the early game. I still think she'll be very strong just because of how safe she is and how she can make full benefits, you know, with her headshot, and how she can, you know, still poke and still outrange any AD carry down in the dual lane and use that to her advantage. Take a look at Camille. It looks like Camille is getting nerfed with the second ability. I think Camille, since the recent changes that happened to her in patch 4.0, with the kind of mini rework that she got, I think she's been very strong, both in the Baron lane and in the jungle. It looks like the second ability, the monster modification, is going down from 100% down to 50%. So that means you're not going to be dealing as much damage to with the second ability to monsters. And also the recovery health is also going down from 50% down to 40%. So you can't heal as much now during the laning phase. Pretty big hit maybe to Camille in the jungle, because Camille jungle's second ability was kind of the main ability, and honestly this is normally the ability that you max first on Camille. It probably will still be the same, the ability that you max first on Camille, but you just won't be doing as much damage to monsters. I mean, that was the big thing. You just max your tactical sweep, your second ability, and then your jungle clear is absolutely insane, because you got 100% damage every single time. You got the full damage every single time on monsters, and also you can heal a lot as well from the monsters. But that's been cut in half, which is a big hit to Camille jungle's clear speed. So we have to see how that affects things when that gets released next week. Yuumi is getting a nerf as well. See, Yuumi's an interesting one, because I spoke a little bit about in the tier list, where I think Yuumi is very strong at the moment. I think she's definitely deserved of a nerf. But she's one of them champions that doesn't really call out as like a carry champion in a way, because you have to rely so much on your team, because Yuumi obviously sits on your teammates, and you kind of have to rely on them to basically not run you down. But I think that, you know, her healing was still very strong, especially the adaptive force damage, which I can see here was very, very strong. And that's being cut by a lot, as you can see. So the power projectile enhanced current health damage is going up a little bit in the early game by 0.5. Doesn't really mean too much. Staying the same at level 2. But at level 3, level 4, and level 5, it's going down. I mean, if you don't know, with Yuumi, you can level up this ability 5 times because your second ability is already leveled at level 1. Prana projectiles mana cost as well is also going up by 10 mana. And then the Yuumi, the passive adaptive force. So this is basically whatever champion you sit on, you basically gain this extra bonus as basically extra damage that the champion gets. That's been cut by quite a lot in the early game and just a little bit in the later stages. Still 2% is still quite a lot. I feel like most champions will feel this change to Yuumi when they're sitting on them, or when Yuumi's sitting on them. So that's going to be a big thing for Yuumi, and it's very, very interesting to see whether this is going to be enough to maybe kill Yuumi again, because they kind of killed Yuumi, then kind of buffed her a little bit to bring her back, but now they're kind of nerfing her back down. So I think Yuumi is always a very, very hard champion to balance. So I think it's always very difficult to try and balance a champion like Yuumi, which I think is going to be the same when Zeri comes out as well. And then Zed's third ability, this is actually a nerf. This used to be obviously 100% damage, so the damage of shadow slashes, the third ability, used to do 100% of the damage every single time, so you get the full damage off on monsters. Now this is being cut to 60%. You're basically losing 40% damage to monsters when using shadow slash on jungle camps. So nerf to Zed jungle, to be honest, never really saw it at all. I don't think I've ever seen it. This must be a thing in other regions, maybe in like China or Asia regions, but in Europe I never see this in high elo at all. I think I've actually seen it once, like ever, and that was actually today, the day I'm recording this, which by the way is 2:30 a.m. So yeah, I mean, not today, yes, well, that'd be yesterday now. I think it's the first time I ever saw it. So nerf to Zed jungle, never saw it. Very interesting. These are the cool ones. I like some of these changes. Some of these changes are really, really cool. System and item buffs. Locket enchant. Thank God this got reduced to 500 gold. No one was building this enchantment for 800 gold. 800 gold was so much. I mean, yes, before the 800 gold was fair because it gave you a shield, but since they changed it now to only a magic shield, this is only ever viable if you're against, like, I don't know, some AoE magic damage, like maybe a Mumu, Kennen, anyone like that. But it's never really worth going for Locket enchant if you're against like even burst damage like Evelyn, Akali, or anything like that. Maybe it's worth it now for 500 gold. We'll have to see. It gives your team like a huge, massive magic shield. I think this is a much needed buff because, like I said, no one was building Locket enchant except for like very, very rare occasions. Randuin's Omen, I don't think has been very good since the remake that they did to it. They are buffing it a little, so the pre-mitigation critical strike damage gained as determination, the percentages are going up, so 16% for a melee champion and 10% for a ranged champion. So this is basically the stacks that you get of determination, that you can get up to 500 stacks, and when you auto attack you gain a little bit of healing. Again, Randuin's Omen is a very unique item. You only really want to build it against critical strike damage anyway, but most of the time people weren't really building this even against critical strike damage, so I think it definitely deserved a much needed buff. Spirit Visage is an item, honestly, that I thought was already very, very good. I think after the changes, with it being now shield and healing on Spirit Visage, I think the stats were already very, very good for Spirit Visage as well. But I guess I don't think that they're giving it 10 more ability haste and they're reducing the cost by 100 gold. I think it's really, really good, to be honest with you. I mean, there's not really a lot of offensive options that you really have as a tank that has magic resist. You have Zeke's Convergence, you have Force of Nature, obviously Spirit Visage. I think that's about it. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Maybe I'm missing out on some items. But yeah, really nice buff to Spirit Visage. Obviously sometimes I even build this on AD carries as well, which is nice that it's a little bit cheaper, and also it gives us a little bit more ability haste, which is pretty cool. Banshee's Veil, this is always a very situational item. You'd only really build this if you're against a lot of magic damage, or if you really wanted the the shield, if you really needed it, if you're against, like, I don't know, an Ashe or a Lux or a Morgana, anyone like that that can easily bind you and easily deal a lot of burst damage and catch you out with any crowd control. Never really was used as, like, in every single game item. So I think it's fair that it's going down by 200 gold. I think it's completely fair. I don't think there's any problem with it at all. I think the base stats are pretty decent for this item anyway. So maybe you might see this built a little bit more. Again, I still think it's only going to be situational though, against a lot of magic damage, or if you need the shield that stops crowd control hitting you. Pathfinder, that's been buffed like 20 million times now. Still garbage rune. It regenerates missing health. Core, it's gone up by 0.5%. I'm just gonna keep saying it until they basically remove this rune or basically rework it. Like, I mean, they kind of reworked it already by adding this regenerate missing health and mana. It did absolutely nothing at all. This rune is just nowhere near as good. I'd much rather have ability haste. I'd much rather have Nimbus Cloak. The movement speed is much better than Pathfinder, and it's also it's the burst movement speed as well. Maybe you can use this on like Nunu. Other than that, I don't really like this rune at all. Like I said, I'll probably say it until it gets completely removed or changed. Resolve Tree, Second Wind. This was actually the interesting thing, that Second Wind was the go-to Resolve Tree rune before the bone plating buffs, but since bone plating got buffed to now work with the first instance of damage plus the next 3 after that, or the next 2 after that, bone plating has been the go-to for pretty much every single champion in the game. Support, Baron lane, even jungle, mid lane, AD carry, everyone goes bone plating. But I still think Second Wind is very good. I still don't think the rune is that bad at all, and I still use it on champions like Garen and Malphite, that maybe you don't want to take the short trades, but you just want to take the you just want to take the quick trades, or just quickly walk up, use your third ability like you do with Garen, quickly wave clear, and then you can go away to safety and heal with Garen's passive plus his plus Second Wind. And also it's really good on Set as well, because it also works on top of Set's healing. So it's actually getting buffs, so the missing health recovered over 5 seconds. The base health is being increased by 0.5, and if you're a melee champion, it's now also being increased by 1%. So I think this could be a rune that you could definitely see on a lot of other melee champions, that this is really good against like poke damage in the lane. I still think this is very good even if you're against like bruises or anything like that, because like I said, you can go in for quick trades and then back away to safety and then heal back up with Second Wind, right, which I think is going to be very useful on some champions. Last thing is the Morgana adjustments. I'm not really too sure what their idea is with the adjustments with this, to be honest with you. I think some of these are very interesting. I think this is to do with maybe timing your Morgana shield correctly, because it looks like what they're doing is, so the black shield, magic shield, the base shield is going down, also the AP ratio is going down. It's going down in the early game, but it's going up in the later stages of the game. Okay, so at level 1 it's going down, level 2 it's staying the same, level 3 it's going up, level 4 it's going up, the base value, but the AP ratio is going down. The black shield cooldown is going down by 2 seconds every single rank, but as you can see, the duration is now only 4 seconds. So you basically need to make sure you time the black shield correctly, which, to be honest, most of the time you want to time the black shield when the crowd control comes towards you, which is a little bit harder to do on Wild Rift compared to PC League, because PC League is very precise and you can easily use your black shield on an ally. It's a little bit harder to do on Wild Rift, and sometimes you might pick the wrong ally, sometimes you might do it on yourself by accident. So what most people did on Wild Rift is they would use black shield before they engage. They would use black shield and then go in and engage, and then they'll use all their abilities, ultimate, etc. Now you can't really do that for a longer duration, so you only got 4 seconds now. But obviously the cooldown going down is pretty nice, and also the base shield going up at later stages means that you'll be able to block a little bit more magic damage. So yeah, I'm not really too sure what they think of it, what their idea is with the Morgana adjustments. As I said, I think it's more to do with trying to make it more of a skillful skillful ability to use, rather than just using it and just face planting off the, you know, towards the enemy champions. I think that's kind of what their mindset was with that. That is everything for patch 4.0b. Obviously, this doesn't include all of the changes. There'll probably be some more changes that happen in the patch notes, which I will be reviewing next week when they do get released, as I said, around Wednesday or Thursday. Very, very interesting one. So I think Senna buff is going to be absolutely insane. I think Senna is going to be a very, very powerful champion in the next patch. I think the Yuumi nerfs are very interesting. Caitlyn nerfs obviously very interesting. Some of the items as well, I think, will be used a lot more. So very interested to see how this shapes up. And obviously, as I mentioned, Zeri is also coming out in a couple of weeks as well, which I'm very, very excited about. I have to see how that shapes things up. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed this quick rundown of patch 4.0b. I'm going to go and quickly edit and upload this video because it's currently nearly 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to go get some rest. Hopefully get some rest too. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.